really gravitated towards these smaller cast, nitty gritty, people related shows. And I would try to get those produced, and companies would say, yeah, we're really not feeling that right now, which I understand. Could you write us like a murder mystery, like a murder mystery comedy? And I kind of begrudgingly said, fine, okay, I'll write a murder mystery comedy. And I I worked at Starbucks for 9 years. And I thought to myself, well, I know a lot about coffee, and I haven't heard of a murder mystery that takes place in a coffee shop. So I just kind of started jamming around with that. And I ended up really, really enjoying the process, and really, really enjoying the murder mystery farce genre. Specifically because there's just some things you can get away with in the farce world that you can't get away with in the drama world, where I don't know, they're gonna randomly have a film noir motif moment, and we're not gonna question it, and we're just doing it. We're moving along. So yeah, it was kind of a mixture of two things that I love, which is theater and then coffee. And I don't work for Starbucks now, but I still am addicted to the stuff. So
I guess the next question we have is, are any of the characters based off of people you know, or like celebrities or experiences?
That's a good question. Not celebrities per se. I have a very, very good friend who is basically an Ivy, who is very much by the book. Why would I do it any other way? This is the way that it's supposed to be. And I think I kind of based that character off of her. And then I myself am more so of a Soma kind of character. And so I guess I just kind of turned our personalities up to 10, and I'm a bit more of an optimist than Soma is, but yeah. It's not the character isn't based on anybody, but I had a coworker who I loved dearly, named Kathy, who spells it with an I. And originally Kathy was not supposed to be the antagonist character. She was supposed to be more of a motherly. I had a coworker named Kathy who was kind of like a second mom to me. And as I was working the show, I realized this needs more conflict. There needs to be something else that's going on here. And so I decided to make Kathy kind of the bad boss, so to speak. And I've been meaning to go to my real life friend Kathy and tell her, like, by the way, you're named after this character, but she's not a nice character. But I didn't mean it. But it's all in. And she's a good sport. She would find it funny. A big part of how I write is I just kind of have what I call like jam sessions, where I sit down with an idea and I just kind of vomit on the page, so to speak. And that's really, really important, to just allow yourself to just write whatever comes into your brain. And the first draft is going to be terrible. It always is. It's supposed to be bad. And then you can go back and edit it. So a lot of these characters just kind of came up organically, and then you go back and you're like, oh, well, yeah, what if Ben was like obsessed with Mel? And then you go back and you just kind of add different layers to it. So yeah, and it is really fun when you have a large group of people. Another thing that's really great about having a large cast versus a smaller cast, is it is almost kind of like playing with dolls when you're writing it, where you're like, okay, well now I'm gonna, yeah, okay, what if, and then she's gonna come over here, and it's very fun. It's something that you don't get, when you only have 3 people and the stakes are all there and there's nothing really hidden.
I guess going on from possible character inspiration, just in general, who are some of like your writing inspirations?
Oh, that's a good question. I love Neil Simon. I love that witty. Yeah, and I think the character again. I didn't know where I was going with characters at the start. I'm pretty sure Neil, the character, I was trying to think of a name for a character, and I turned and I looked at my bookshelf, and there was like the complete works of Neil Simon, and I went, oh, there we go. And so he's low key kind of named after Neil Simon. So Neil Simon, definitely. Oscar Wilde is a big one. Again, this kind of witty banter, quick wit, smart aleck comments, so to speak. I love a good not Harold Pinter. Harold Pinter's fine, but Edward Albee. That's the one I'm thinking of. I love a good Edward Albee. Lauren Gunderson, Sarah Rule. Yeah.
What is your favorite part about being a playwright?
I suppose I'm going to be really pretentious right now and say there's a part of me that's always been writing. There's a really good I'm forgetting. I'm looking for it on my bookshelf right now, but it's essentially it's this the letters to a young poet, that poet, that guy. He has this fantastic quote that I think is Lady Gaga's tattoo, one of Lady Gaga's tattoos, but that's neither here nor there. But the gist of the quote is that ask yourself, if you were forbidden to write, like, could you still go on? Could you still function? And to be really pretentious, I am just one of those people who's, for better or worse, kind of always writing. And I always have a dialogue going on in my head, and I'm really lucky in this is going to sound like I'm making fun of myself, but genuinely I'm really lucky in that I found I have a version of ADHD that makes me do this thing, and I have found a way to turn it into something better. I have found a way to kind of channel that energy like Thor with his hammer. Otherwise I would just be crazed and not know where to put all of my energy. On the other side of the spectrum, I really like, I'm sure you will have experienced this too, but I like being part of the solution rather than the problem, because so many plays don't have enough roles for women or enough roles for non-binary people, gender fluid individuals, but especially women. Or if they do, they're locked into a stereotype or a trope. And I kind of looked around and I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to be a writer, then I'm going to be someone who is actively creating better roles for women and creating jobs for women. So early on in my career, I kind of told myself, every play that I write, at least 50% of the cast has to be a woman or non-binary or gender fluid or whatnot. We cannot have these, predominantly male casts anymore. And I've broken that a couple of times with some shows, but for the most part, there is power in being a writer, just like there's power in being producing theater, because you are the one who's making the choice that, yeah, I'm going to do this show rather than this, misogynistic piece over here. So thank you for choosing my show and for using your power for good.
One of the cast members wanted to know if you have a favorite character in the show and why, and then who you relate to the most.
We were talking about how the character of Eddie always, certain actors gravitate toward that part, but the same can be said for whoever plays Ian. And I really love Ian. I would say he's probably my favorite character, just because he is so sweet. And there's sometimes, I am going to toot my own horn. There are times I see the show and I forget just like how sweet he is, and that requires a certain kind of actor. And luckily, every production I've seen, they knock the Ian out of the park. He's just so tender and so sweet and so stupid, and Yeah, he's really, really great. So I would love to go out for nachos at the bowling alley with Ian.
Yeah. So we have one question that kind of ties into a question from one of our cast members as well. And it was, have you ever thought about what happens after the story ends?
I've never considered doing a sequel or a spin-off, but that I suppose that's what the world of fan fiction is for. So
I guess what are some of the biggest differences you see in yourself now compared to when you started writing?
oh when I so my first play that I ever wrote was back in undergrad. I'd always tried to write plays, but I never finished them. So I say it's the first play I ever finished. And I went on to share it with my peers, and then I went on to share it with my professors. And I remember one of my professors, sitting down and talking with me, just having a really in-depth conversation um, about what works, what doesn't work, and it was a very difficult conversation. But looking back, it was really, really helpful and really helped shape me. And I was so obsessed at the beginning about making my dialogue is already very conversational and very informal. It's very contemporary. But at the time when I was 19, I was really obsessed with just making it as realistic as possible. Like I would throw in all kinds of ums and ahs and I would have like people would joke about like my plays always had long pauses in them, a long pause, because I thought I was being very clever in, trying to show dialogue as it really happens. Because it's not, just now, even now, I'm tripping over my words and I'm trying to think of like what I'm going to say next. And so I wanted to replicate that on stage. And it took me a while for my professor to kind of really explain it to me, like, but theater isn't real life. It's not. And I know it's not. But he said it's a representation of real life, and you are going to lose your. And the other thing was like I had this whole thing about like I would introduce characters and then they would never come back, and I thought, well, that's how life is. Like Bob just walks in and then Bob goes away, and he had to explain to me, like, I understand that you think you're reinventing the wheel here or something, but you're just confusing your audience, and we're gonna get lost in all of this real stuff. So yeah, just kind of finding that fine line between keeping it conversational and keeping it feeling organic without going into just no man's land of ahs and ums was a trial, but I think I figured it out. So yeah, that's a great question. These are great questions.
One of our cast members wanted to ask, what elements of your murder mystery do you feel sets it apart from other murder mysteries?
Oh my gosh. Okay. These are really great. These are good questions. So that is a really, really great question, because I did say when I begrudgingly made the decision that I was going to write a murder mystery that I was going to write it my way. And I wasn't even entirely sure what my way meant. But I suppose part of that was, of course, I wanted there to be more female characters than there are males. And this one, there's one more female character than males, but it's still the majority. But I also I wanted a show that sometimes you go to see murder mysteries and I get that there's the thrill of trying to figure it out and trying to discover who it is, but if that's all that there is to the show, then it's just, you know, as soon as we figure out who the murderer is, there's no point. It just kind of loses its sparkle. If all you're going for here is just to, you know, have a whodunit, and the entire show is just a series of red herrings and whatnot. I guess what I'm trying to say is I wanted a human element to it. More so, I wanted there to be a, for lack of a better word, moral. I wanted it to be a story about friendship, about kind of bridging the gaps between people, and to make it a I think I didn't write this show for my dad, but I think a lot about my dad, who we lost 5 years ago. I think a lot about him when I think about the show, because he always would just talk about, common decency and general kindness, and it sounds like such a basic thing, but it's really not. And I realized there was a lot of my dad that I put into this show, just about, really genuinely listening to people and getting to know people. And he was also a really, really big fan of John Denver, and I think that was certainly a reason why I put it in there. I love John Denver too, and I think there was a Spotify playlist I found one time, and it was, music that could be played at a coffee shop, and there was some John Denver music on there, and I went, yeah, that tracks. Yeah, okay.
What is your drink of choice at a coffee shop?
Ooh, okay. I get my cold brew, and I get some oat milk in there. If I really have things that this is not healthy, I don't recommend this. But if there are things I need to do, I get a shot of espresso added to that. And if I'm feeling crazy, I'll put some kind of flavoring in there, like a hazelnut in there.
What was your inspiration for what goes into the Devil's Show?
Oh yeah.
Now that I know that you work at Starbucks.
I really think it was just a series of gross things. I personally don't like matcha, so that also has something to do with it.
But everyone in the show is insistent that they are all going to try the Devil's Show.
I have made it. I have made it. I did, and I don't think I made it totally, because I was at work and I didn't feel comfortable spitting into the container.
Valid.
So I did not make a true Devil's Joe. I made it without the maker's saliva.
Yeah, just all in all, we are having a lot of fun with this show. And we're excited to read more of your shows, because we both really just enjoy your style of writing too.
Thank you. I always say that, and again, this is neither really here nor there, but I like to think that my work is I am on a search for genuine things. I like genuine connection and genuine conversations, and I can just see the genuine love that you have for each other.
Hope when the recording goes out, you will really like what we have done with your show.
I'm sure I will. And I thank you so much for choosing my show, for finding my show, for directing and doing it. I'm always blown away, just the breadth and the reach that the show has had, and I'm happy that it isn't just another murder mystery comedy with no heart to it, because I think that would be my answer, that I wanted to do something with a little more personality, a little more heart to it. So I thank you, genuinely thank you. I don't have a job unless people like you read my script and see something in it. So thank you.
Yeah, and it's definitely an honor for us to be able to help support a Wisconsin playwright.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Yes,
we're very excited.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest draws. A lot of people, when we tell them about the show, is that it's written by a local Wisconsin playwright. So they're like, oh, and they're like even more intrigued.
Hey everyone, come see the Cafe Mocha Murders. It's fun.
Yeah. Yay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,